Picture this. You're out in the yard holding a garden hose. The water is barely trickling out, not quite reaching the plants you're trying to water. So what's the very first thing you instinctively do? You place your thumb over half the opening.
And boom, the water suddenly shoots out like a high-speed laser. But why does that actually happen? I mean, you didn't add more water into the hose, and you definitely didn't turn up the tap to increase the pressure. So why exactly does water shoot so much faster when you just cover half the hose?
By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand the exact concept, the formula behind it, and how to apply it in real life. We're covering 1. Defining flow rate, 2. Velocity versus flow rate, 3. The equation of continuity, 4. Branching in the body, and 5. A quick summary. Let's get into it.
Okay, Section 1. Defining flow rate.
Before we can solve our garden hose mystery, we've got to nail down the basics. In physics, flow rate, which we represent with a capital Q, is just the volume of fluid passing a specific location during a set period of time. The formula is beautifully simple. Q equals V divided by T. Volume over time. Scientists usually measure this in cubic meters per second, but in medicine or everyday life, you'll hear liters per minute. Whenever you hear the term flow rate, just ask yourself, how much total stuff is moving past me right now?
And those simple units? They add up to absolutely staggering amounts over time. Take the human heart. A resting adult heart pumps blood at a flow rate of about 5 liters per minute. If we take our Q equals V over T formula and calculate the total volume for an average 75-year lifetime, that equals 200,000 tons of blood. To put that into perspective, that's literally enough to fill up 200 6-lane 50-meter lap pools. That is the sheer volume of fluid moved by that 5 liters per minute ticking away inside you right now.
Moving right along to Section 2, velocity versus flow rate.
Now, a really common student trap is thinking, wait, isn't flow rate just the exact same thing as speed? They are related, for sure, but they are not the same thing. Picture a rapid mountain stream. The water is rushing incredibly fast. That's high velocity, but the stream itself is tiny, so it carries a really low volume of water overall. Now compare that to the mighty Amazon River. The water there might actually be moving pretty sluggishly, low velocity, but the river is massively wide and deep, meaning it moves a huge volume of water. So flow rate isn't just about speed, it also heavily depends on the size of the pipe or river it's flowing through. And this leads us directly to our second crucial equation. Q equals A times V. Flow rate equals the cross-sectional area multiplied by the average velocity. It's incredibly logical if you think about it. It's telling us that flow rate is directly proportional to both how fast the fluid is moving and the size of the opening. Make the pipe larger, the area goes up, and the flow rate goes up.
All right, Section 3, the equation of continuity.
Let's finally solve that garden hose anomaly from the beginning. Here is the step-by-step logic. Step 1. Liquids, like water, are essentially incompressible. You literally cannot squeeze them into a smaller volume. Step 2. Because water is incompressible, if it's flowing through a pipe and that pipe suddenly gets narrower, the exact same amount of water absolutely has to push through to keep the flow continuous. Step 3. Since the area is smaller now, but the exact same volume needs to squeeze through in the exact same amount of time, the velocity has to increase. And there it is. The equation of continuity, A1 times V1 equals A2 times V2. When you put your thumb over the hose, you shrank the area. Because the water can't be compressed, physics literally demands that the speed shoots up to get the same amount of water through that smaller hole.
Let's do a quick retention check. Think about trying to blow out a birthday candle. If you open your mouth incredibly wide and just breathe out, the air moves super slowly. It does absolutely nothing to the flame. Wide area, low speed. But if you push your lips into a tiny circle, creating a narrow area, the air shoots out at high speed, and you blow out the candle. Mathematically, speed is inversely proportional to the square of the tube's radius. That means even a tiny, tiny pinch of your lips, or that garden hose, creates a massive, squared increase in the fluid's speed.
Let's take this to Section 4, branching in the body. We're going to connect this to a real-world biological application to see how this physics literally keeps us alive. In a lot of situations, fluid doesn't just go from one wide pipe to one narrow pipe. It branches out into multiple different paths. For this, we use the branching rule. It's the exact same equation of continuity we just learned, but we're just tossing an n in there to represent the number of branches. So n1 times a1 times v1 equals n2 times a2 times v2. The big takeaway here is that continuity of flow is perfectly maintained, but it's the sum of the flow rates across all those tiny branches that stays constant.
Let's break down how this cardiovascular math actually works inside you. Blood leaves your heart through one primary large blood vessel called the aorta. Because it's just one single tube handling all that volume, the speed is quite high. From there, it subdivides into smaller and smaller arteries, eventually branching out into microscopic vessels called capillaries.
Now, wait a second. Based on what we just learned about the garden hose, if the tube gets microscopic, shouldn't the blood shoot out at terrifying supersonic speeds? Well, the speed actually drops to a sluggish 0.33 millimeters per second. How is that even possible? It all comes down to the number n in our branching equation. To handle the flow from the aorta, your body doesn't just have 1 or 2 microscopic capillaries. It branches into approximately 5 billion of them. Because there are 5 billion, the total combined cross-sectional area of all those capillaries is actually massively larger than the aorta. Now you might be wondering, as a student of mine did recently, wait, this is important. If the blood slows down that drastically, doesn't it cause a massive traffic jam and back up the whole system? It is a fantastic question. But the answer is no, because that massive total cross-sectional area of all 5 billion capillaries accommodates the volume perfectly, so there's zero backup. And honestly, this is vital for your survival. The blood needs to slow down so there's enough time for your cells to actually exchange nutrients and oxygen. It's just a beautiful example of biology perfectly utilizing the laws of fluid dynamics.
Which brings us to Section 5, Summary and Next Steps. Before we wrap up, let's quickly review the key points you need to take away from this explainer. First, flow rate is simply the volume of fluid moving over time. Q equals V over T. Second, flow rate depends on both the cross-sectional area and the fluid's velocity. Q equals A times V. Third, the equation of continuity proves that because fluids are incompressible, speed has to increase when a tube narrows. A1V1 equals A2V2. And finally, by just adding an n for the number of branches, we can use these exact same physics equations to map complex biological systems.
But this leaves us with one giant lingering puzzle. We know for a fact that pinching the garden hose makes the water speed up. But what happens to the internal pressure of that water when its speed suddenly skyrockets? Does the pressure go up or does it go down? The answer is probably the exact opposite of what you think, and it actually happens to be the secret to how massive airplanes are able to fly. That is exactly what we're going to uncover in our next explainer covering Bernoulli's equation.